The morning after our wedding, I was standing barefoot in a tiny Brooklyn kitchen, microwaving leftover Thai food while checking our joint account on my phone. Megan, 6 months pregnant and glowing in the gauzy light of the early spring, leaned in the doorway with a mug of peppermint tea cupped in both hands. "How rich are we, Mr. Carter?" she asked with a teasing smile, rubbing her belly like it had its own opinions. I held up my phone. $423.17. She laughed, not nervously, not out of fear. It was a real, belly-deep laugh, the kind you only get when you're deliriously happy and too in love to care about anything practical. "Good thing we're flush with love," she said, grinning. "Love and pad thai," I added, and she kissed me like we were the richest people in the city. We weren't married because of the pregnancy. We'd planned the whole thing, even argued over cake flavors like people with options. We were in love. Stupid, confident, utterly broke, and in love. Back then, everything felt possible. Within a year, things really did start to change. I got hired by a growing tech company as a sales consultant. It was a job with actual health benefits and a salary that didn't make me wince. By the time Emma was born that October, we'd upgraded to a one-bedroom apartment in Park Slope, with a dishwasher and a fire escape that we called a balcony when we had guests over. Megan stayed home with the baby, and I didn't question it. I liked that I could provide, that she didn't have to rush back into work just to make ends meet. I gave her a monthly allowance, not out of control, but enough for coffee runs, yoga classes, the occasional anthropology splurge. She always smiled and said, "Thanks, sugar daddy," like it was a joke, but I saw the pride in her eyes. I worked hard, 50-hour weeks, client dinners, red-eye flights to San Francisco, but I always came home. Friday nights were pizza and wine. Saturdays we took Emma to Prospect Park and fed ducks or watched her stomp through the leaves. We had routines, traditions, love layered in the small stuff. We didn't fight much, and when we did, we always ended up on the couch under the same blanket, apologizing with our feet touching. For 8 years, Megan didn't work, not because she couldn't, but because she didn't have to. She volunteered at Emma's school, ran a wildly organized PTA committee, dabbled in photography, started a blog about sustainable parenting that she updated twice and forgot. She kept the house running, handled the mental load of birthdays, appointments, dentist reminders. I respected it, truly. Sometimes she'd ask, "Do you think I should go back to work?" And I'd always answer the same way. "Only if you want to." And for a long time, she didn't want to. She was happy. We both were. But then came 2022. The tech industry didn't implode overnight. It happened slowly, like a leak in the ceiling you don't notice until the paint starts peeling. At first, my commissions just dipped. A couple of clients froze their budgets. 1 or 2 postponed renewals. Nothing alarming. I figured I just needed to hustle a little harder. I didn't say much to Megan then. I thought it would blow over. We were used to comfort, not crisis. But the following quarter was worse. My leads dried up. Company bonuses got temporarily suspended. And my base salary, once just a modest floor beneath a ceiling of sweet commission checks, now felt like trying to pay a mortgage with loose change. I cut corners silently, stopped ordering lunch at work, canceled Spotify Premium, switched from Blue Bottle coffee to grocery store grounds, and told myself it was just being smart. But I didn't want Megan to worry, or worse, to pity me. So I didn't say anything, at first. But she kept spending like we were still living in 2019. Monthly hair appointments in Manhattan, brunches with the PDA moms that somehow involved bottomless mimosas and $50 eggs. Little Amazon boxes arrived daily, each containing another, just a thing I needed. Emma's birthday party that year had a magician, a balloon artist, and enough Pinterest-inspired decor to film a rom-com. I dropped quiet hints. One evening in Target, she tossed a $300 Dyson hair tool into the cart like it was a pack of gum. "Babe," I said gently, "do we really need that right now?" She rolled her eyes but smiled. "It's an investment. Plus, you always say I deserve to feel good, remember?" I nodded. I had said that, many times, but now it echoed like a line from a script I didn't believe in anymore. I started saying no more often, or at least trying to. Maybe not the sushi takeout again. Maybe we don't need new patio furniture this spring. Maybe we could skip the weekend getaway to Vermont. Each time, She'd blink at me like I'd said something in a foreign language. "We can afford it," she'd say flatly. "You're just stressed." And I was, but not about nothing. By the time summer rolled around, I wasn't just worried. I was scared. I'd burned through most of our emergency fund, keeping things normal. Sold a few shares of stock I'd been proud of. Swallowed my pride and picked up Uber shifts in the evenings, telling her I just needed to get out of the house. She never really asked why, or maybe she didn't want to. She still talked about planning a family trip to Disneyland next year. Still signed up for designer skincare subscription boxes. Still acted like nothing had changed, like the decline in our finances was a temporary chill, not the onset of a hard winter. And when I did finally sit her down, at the same worn kitchen table where we'd celebrated Emma's first day of school and carved pumpkins and written Christmas cards, I was shaking. I looked at her and said quietly, "Meg, I think it's time you went back to work." Not because I wanted her to, not because I wanted to change what we had, but because the only other option was collapse. She didn't argue, not exactly, but the look on her face said everything. Like I'd broken something sacred, like I'd asked her to carry a burden that was never supposed to be hers. And maybe I had. But what choice did I have? She didn't yell. She just nodded and said, "Okay, I'll figure it out." And she did. She updated her LinkedIn, called her old manager, dusted off her portfolio. Within 6 weeks, she had a full-time offer, marketing lead for a mid-sized e-commerce company, remote, flexible hours, a salary that made her officially the breadwinner. I told her I was proud. I was. But what followed was a slow erosion of something I hadn't realized was fragile. At first, it was subtle. Little comments. "You've got time. You're not really working right now. Can you just handle it? I've got back-to-back meetings. Do you even know what it's like to be the one bringing in money?" I started trying harder, waking up early to pack Emma's lunch, folding laundry before anyone could see it pile up, cooking dinner most nights. I wanted Megan to know I wasn't coasting, that I hadn't stopped trying. Most evenings, after dinner, I helped Emma with her homework at the kitchen table. We'd sit side by side, her little brows furrowed in concentration as she sounded out spelling words or scratched out long division. Sometimes she'd lean her head against my shoulder, and for a moment, it felt like everything might still be okay. One night, as she worked through her math sheet, she looked up at me with that clear, thoughtful look kids get when they're trying to name something big. "Daddy," she said, tapping her pencil, "you're like a mom and a dad at the same time." She meant it as a compliment, and I smiled, told her something about teamwork, about how families are like that sometimes. But her words stayed lodged under my ribs long after she'd gone to bed. I didn't mind being there for her. I loved it. But deep down, I realized, somewhere along the way, I'd started feeling like a stand-in for something Megan didn't have space for anymore. I wanted to shake it off, to believe it didn't matter, but the feeling lingered. One night, I forgot to take the trash out, and Megan snapped. "Not about the trash, not really." "Do you even care anymore?" she said, her voice sharp, eyes tired. "I've been doing everything I can," I answered quietly. "I'm trying." "Trying," she repeated, and it sounded like an accusation. I walked out to the car and sat there for half an hour, staring at the dashboard, listening to the heater hum. I used to be the one she leaned on. Now I was in the way, dead weight. I remembered the vows we wrote, how she'd said, "I'll choose you," in sunlight and shadow. And I had believed her. I still do, on most days. But it's hard to feel chosen when your presence feels like an inconvenience, when your efforts are invisible, when every dollar you don't earn becomes a crack in the foundation. I've picked up some freelance work recently, low-paying, inconsistent, but something. When I told her, she didn't say, "That's great," or "I'm proud of you." She just asked, "So, you'll cover your half of the rent then?" It's not about the money. It's about the memory of a morning in Brooklyn when we had $400 to our name, and she looked at me like I was everything. Now we have more, and I feel like nothing. They say for better or worse, like the worst will come in dramatic moments, hospital beds, betrayals, lost jobs. But sometimes the worst sneaks in through silence, through long days and short tempers, through imbalance and bitterness and the slow, silent grief of being unseen by the person who once saw you most clearly. Do I still love her? Yes, unequivocally. But love is heavy when it's only carried on one side. And some days, it feels like I'm the only one still lifting.